Hi, I'm Matt Gracey with Danna-Gracey Risk Strategies. I am so pleased to be talking to you today at the FCOM meeting, virtually and physically. But of course, this is the virtual version. So my agenda today is to talk about how important the unity of defense is in a malpractice case and why you need to prepare for those unity of defense issues and how to do so. I also want to cover just one of my favorite subjects, and that is the abundance of risk management resources that are available to you on the MedPro website for being a member of the NFO Risk Purchasing Group. We have been involved with the NFO for many years, really from its inception, and are very pleased to report that the insurance purchasing program, which is part of the NFO, has been highly successful. If you have any questions about it, of course, reach out. So let's jump right into the slides and off we go. So the importance of a unity of defense. The number one goal, as you can see, is just don't let this happen. This is really the only screen I would need for the entire presentation. This is what plaintiff attorneys love. It's one of their main strategies in a multi-defendant case. Almost every case against doctors these days is a multi-defendant case. And how do they win? Well, they get everybody pointing their fingers at everybody else. And you would think that would be an easy thing to stop, but in fact, it's not, because as you can imagine, there are a lot of personalities involved, but it goes even deeper than that. It really goes to the structure of the insurance representation too. Each insurance company has their own claims representatives, and of course, they assign an attorney to defend a doctor and the practice when they're sued. Each one of those claims adjusters and attorneys and doctors have different strategies. And so what does a plaintiff want to do? They want to get all those strategies just conflicting with the others so that they can come in and convince a jury that the doctor and the practices are at fault. And that's how big awards and settlements are created. So the whole thing is not to let that happen. But again, not as easy as you would imagine because of the insurance representation. With a whole bunch of different insurers involved, there will be this blame game going on, and that will result in settlements that are just unpredictable, but also unnecessary at times to the plaintiffs. One of the things that people are very confused about is other insurance clause in insurance policies. If we were doing this in person, I could ask the audience, well, how many of you have studied your other insurance clause in your malpractice insurance policy? I can guarantee you, well, maybe one hand would go up, probably some person who's been through a major lawsuit and had these explained to them. But most people have no idea how this all works. And that's, again, one of the problems. People are very well intentioned, of course, when they buy insurance policies. They think, well, I'll buy an insurance policy and sleep better at night. That sounds like the right goal as well. But when there are multiple defendants with multiple policies involved, things can get very complicated. And that's really what this presentation is about, is to simplify all that so that the defendants in a case, at least the defendants that you can control, are And that's the point, is that in cases that have multi-defendants and defendants that you have some control over, you want at least to have the same insurance policies. Oh, Lord, I'm recording. Jesus. All right, let's start again, Steve. So that's really the point, is that in multi-defendant cases where there are a bunch of defendants, but also a bunch of insurance policies and reps and lawyers, as I said, it all has to be coordinated. And guess what? Sometimes it doesn't coordinate very well. And sometimes that's, again, the fundamental mistake that purchasers make. When you buy an insurance policy, you think it should cover you, right? Well, it does, but this other insurance clause might say, if you have other coverage, well, they're going to be primary, or this policy is going to be primary. Again, it's very convoluted. So the trick is to have good coordination, but in my opinion, that's nearly impossible when it comes to big multi-defendant cases. And again, that's what plaintiff attorneys count on. So here's some examples of folks that you might not be able to control as far as what insurance policy, what insurance carrier they have defending them. Of course, hospital-based doctors who might be a co-defendant, it's impossible to control their insurance coverage. What about all the employees of a surgery center that might not be one that your practice owns? What about all the referring physicians as co-defendants? There are so many possibilities of doctors being your co-defendant where they're going to have different insurance, that the point is you really want the ones where you can control within your own practice to have the same coverage. A great example of this is with all the APPs and audiologists in otolaryngology practices. Of course, many audiologists have gone out and bought separate policies from a number of different companies offering them, and they're not expensive. And so they're very attractive to audiologists, is to go out and buy say $1.3 million limit, which is a standard policy you can purchase on the market for under $100 usually. But again, what happens is now you have just brought another insurance company, another insurance rep, another attorney into a case, versus if that audiologist had gone with the same company that insures all of the doctors and the practice. It would be a coordinated defense versus a bit of chaos. And the last thing you want in a big multi-defendant case is chaos. So there's one other group that you can't rely on either as a co-defendant, and that is the uninsured. What's happening in Florida is we're one of the only states in the union that allows a doctor to practice bare. That means without having insurance. So bare doctors, their strategy is, well, if I get sued, I'll just tell the plaintiff that, well, I don't have any insurance and I've protected all my assets, so pound sand, just go away. And well, that is where it gets complicated. What we're seeing on a regular basis now are the uninsured doctors being very much compromised by the plaintiff bar. The plaintiff bar basically says, gee, doc, if you want to get out of this case, then you're going to have to really point your finger at some of your co-defendants. We're not going to just let you out because you have no insurance. We will pursue you those assets, and we'll work very hard to try to get you out of practice if you don't point your finger at your co-defendants. And it seems to be working. And that's, again, one of the problems of having folks around who are uninsured, either uninsured or, again, with different insurance policies with different companies. So I think I've beaten that point. So for the second half of the presentation, I just want to really talk about the risk management resources that are available to all of the NFO insureds. And if you're not an NFO insured through MedPro, then your own insurance company may well have some resources. We find that MedPro's risk management resources are absolutely second to none. They know otolaryngology. They insure a lot of otolaryngologists, not just in Florida, but around the country. And their risk managers, you've probably been on some webinars with a number of them that the NFO so greatly does monthly. And they share some great knowledge. And I'm always amazed how few people know what deep resources are available, again, free. So the risk managers themselves, you can call a risk manager when you're in doubt about anything. You can call me, you can call the risk managers. Risk managers are the real pros. When we get difficult questions, we always involve a risk manager, and I can tell you, you will be very satisfied with some of the advice you will get. Look at some of the resources here just on COVID. I know we're all sick of the COVID discussions and articles, but again, some very important information. They have great continuing ed as well. The doctors can go on and get discounts on their policies by doing the continuing ed through the MedPro website. And there are a bunch of very timely subjects, as you can see here, from cybersecurity down to just basic strategies of disruptive behavior, and on and on and on. Just way too many for me to even begin to highlight. You can see here, again, just a real sampling of some of their resources. And they have some new ones. Many of you might have gone on to their website a couple of years ago. Well, go on again, because they're constantly updating and improving this site. And again, all free. And if you have any issues of accessing it, just go to our Danna-Gracey.com site, go on to the NFO page, and we'd be happy, or you'll be easily directed to these resources. Thank you very much. We're very honored to present at the FCOM meeting, and wish you all well.